Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Today's lecture is about the sexual reproduction in the fungi. Sexual reproduction in the fungi that varies in different groups of the fungi. There are the four groups of the fungi which are Ascomycota, Zygomycota, Basidiomycota, and Deuteromycota. The sexual reproduction in all the four groups, for all the four groups, that is different, but the fusion of the haploid nuclei and the meiosis, that is common to all. Mean in all these four groups, the three groups, the haploid nuclei and the meiosis will take place. While in the fourth group, which is the Deuteromycota, in it the sexual phase is not seen. That is not done in the Deuteromycota. The main points of the sexual reproduction is that the two hyphae which are genetically different, they may be the positive strain, negative strain, they will come closer, and their cytoplasm will fuse first. After that, the nuclear fusion will take place. But in certain groups, that is basidiomycetes and ascomycetes, the fusion of the nuclei that do not takes place immediately, but it takes place after the fusion of cytoplasm. The both of the two nuclei of the two different genetic types, they will remain in the hyphae, and that hyphae will be called as dikaryotic hyphae. For example, spores, this is the cell in which the one nuclei that belongs to the one genetic makeup, and the other nuclei that belongs to the other genetic makeup. Different groups of the fungi that will produce different types of the haploid sexual spores. For example, in Basidiomycota, if we talk about, the basidiospores are produced, while in Ascomycota the ascospores are produced. Dikaryotic phase that will survive, it will be the lengthy phase, but after the fusion of the nuclei, the meiosis will take place, and the haploid sexual spores, they will be produced, which are the ascospores and the basidiospores. Ascospores are produced in ascomycetes, while the basidiospores are produced in the basidiomycetes. These are actually produced inside the fruiting bodies. For example, if we talk about the basidio or the basidio carp, such type of structure that will produced in basidio carp, at the tip the basidiospores, they will be produced. While in the ascospores, what happened, the asi are produced, in which all 8 ascospores are produced. 4 ascospores are produced by the meiosis, while the remaining the other 4 ascospores, they will be produced by the mitosis. Let's start with the classification of the fungi. Classification of the fungi, that includes 4 groups. One is the Zygomycota. In it, the examples are Rhizopus, black bread mold, which is the common bread mold, जो bread के ऊपर लगती है हमारे. फिर Pylobolus, जिसको आप spitting fungus भी कहते हैं. फिर Zygospores, that is the sexual reproduction, sexual spore that will produced in the zygospores. In it, the same positive and the negative strain, they will come closer. Cytogamy, the fusion of the cytoplasm will takes place, and after that, the zygospore that will be produced, and it will, after meiosis, it will form the haploid spores, which will form again the main fungi, main hyphae. Detailed we will discuss after the classification. Asexual, it will produced by the non-motile spores, which are produced inside the sporangia, as we have discussed in the asexual reproduction. While in case of the hyphae, if we talk about the hyphae is non-septate. Non-septate hyphae means ke just like this, in which there will be no septa or the partitions. Soinocytic hyphae, which is called as, and multinucleated. These are the nuclei that will show the multinucleated condition. Next is the Ascomycota, and Ascomycota, that examples are the yeast, morels, truffles, powdery mildews. Ascospores, these are the sexual spores, and as I've told you, they will be produced in the asi. So that is the ascus, in which the ascospores are produced. Conidia जो हैं, these are the asexual spores, and we have discussed already the asexual reproduction, in which we discussed that the conidia, they are the naked spores which are produced at the tip of the medullae. And the hyphae is the septate hyphae, just like this, in which the septa are produced, and if it is contains one nucleus, In the previous lecture, we were discussing about the classification of the fungi. Deuteromycota was undiscussed due to certain problems. Deuteromycota, that is the imperfect fungi. In it, the sexual phase that has not been observed. That's why it is called as the Deuteromycota. It will reproduce asexually by the formation of the conidia, as we have discussed in the asexual production of the fungi, while the structure of the hyphae that is varied in different groups. Let's start with the first group, that is the Zygomycota. That is named at the base of its zygospores, which is the sexual reproducing spore. Zygomycetes or conjugating fungi. It is also called as the conjugating fungi. Why? Because in it, when the sexual production that has to be made, the conjugating fungi, the two hyphae, they will come closer and they will form the conjugating tube by which they will share the genetic makeup with one another. That's why these are called as the conjugating fungi. We will discuss at this point in the life cycle. Zygomycota, during the sexual reproduction, the zygote that will form directly by the fusion of the two hyphae, which may be the positive and the negative strain, both of them, they will come closer, and temporary dormant thick walled resistant structures, zygospores, they will be produced. And zygospores, after meiosis, it will germinate and form the haploid spores, and these haploid spores, they will form the new mycelium again, as it is shown in this figure. As you can see in this figure, these are the two strains, hyphae positive and negative. Here they are conjugating the positive and the negative strain hyphae. One is positive and one is a negative. They will come closer, they will form the zygospores, that is the zygospores. Zygospores, they will germinate, it will form the sporangia. Inside the sporangia, it will produce the spores. These spores, these are the haploid spores. They will be produced by the meiosis. They will be haploid spores and they germinate to form the mycelium again. This is the life cycle of the group Zygomycota. Here you can see the conjugation process also. That's why they are called as the conjugating fungi. And zygospores, which is produced inside it, on the basis of its, this group is called as the zygospores. Let's start with the Ascomycota, that is the second group, sac fungi. It is the largest group of this fungi. 60,000 species they are, or the 50% we can say, they are associated with the lichens. Lichens, as I've told you, that algae plus fungi. Lichens are the association of the algae plus fungi, and some they are associated with the morels and are the mycorrhizal hyphae. These are the two examples you can say that from the Ascomycota group. Terrestrial habitat है इसका, some are marine, some are freshwater in habitat. यूनिसेलुलर एग्जाम्पल में यीस्ट की आप दे सकते हैं, कप फंजाई या मॉरल्स वगैरह, ये सारी इसकी इस ग्रुप से बिलोंग करते हैं. यीस्ट जो हैं दे आर द यूनिसेलुलर. सेम केस इधर भी दोनों जो हैं वो है सेक्सुअल स्पोर्स. जब भी होने होंगे तो पहले साइटोगैमी या साइटोप्लाज्म की फ्यूजन होगी, फिर आफ्टर सम टाइम द न्यूक्लियस दैट दे विल प्रोड्यूस्ड न्यूक्लियस दे विल फ्यूज विद वन अनदर. एंड sexual spores, these are called as the ascospores. On the basis of this group is named Ascomycota, and they are produced in the ascus, as I told you in the previous lecture. SI के अंदर जो हैं वो ascospores produced होंगे. 4 will be formed, as I told you that 4 ascospores will be produced by the meiosis, and the 4 will be produced mitosis, and total 8 ascospores, they will be produced in one ascus. This is ascus, this is ascocarp, in which these SI are arranged, and inside it the almost 8 ascospores, they will be produced inside it. This group Ascomycota, that reproduce asexually by the conidia. This point has been discussed already. Yeast, that is the most exploited fungi, and it is considered as that is originated from all the 3 different groups. It is unicellular fungi, reproduce asexually by budding. Sexual reproduction, that is asi or ascospores, by asi or ascospores, while if it belongs to the Basidiomycota or Basidiospores, that will be produced inside it during the sexual production. Importance yeast, और common name हम इसको खमीर भी कहते हैं, जिसमें हम लोग जो है इसको fermentation processes के लिए इस्तेमाल करते हैं. जैसे डो में मिक्स करते हैं तो वो राइस हो जाती है because of the yeast fermentation की वजह से. During this it will produce the glucose it will break down the glucose or the carbohydrate into the ethanol, and the carbon dioxide, ethanol evaporate to jati or carbon dioxide that makes the dough to rise. And that's why it is very important economically. Saccharomyces cerevisiae, that is the common most exploited yeast जो हम commonly इस्तेमाल करते हैं.